What's up, and welcome to the Crude Oil Podcast, a weekly uncensored Edmonton Oilers podcast with your hosts, Sean and Greg. All right, what's up, and welcome back to episode 18, the Thanksgiving Day edition of the Crude Oil Podcast. How's it going, Sean?
Pretty good. It's been a good weekend.
Yeah, lots going on in your world, hey?
Yeah. It's very exciting. I'll keep the personal stuff on the personal side, but it's all good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. No. It was a really fulfilling weekend too, just getting to be with family. So, glad to be back. But it's amazing to think like we've got a brand new fucking season starting.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
In T-minus almost 24 hours, 51 hours from now.
Yeah.
Math is hard.
Yeah.
It's my off day. I don't do math on off days.
It's exciting. Like Wednesday's gonna come here and it's gonna be all the waiting's gonna come to an end finally. But lots of stuff to get to. Just with respect to all of the Oilers notes over the past week. We might as well just dive straight into it. I think where we left off, the Oilers were heading to Penticton. Oh no, they played the Canucks first, right?
Yeah, we got to watch a game on TV.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So exciting. And they actually dominated the Canucks.
Yeah.
Especially in the third period.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. I'm getting bored of these preseason games. The longer they go on, it's just like why bother investing your time in it? But
well, exactly. And for anybody who didn't know, Edmonton beat the Canucks 7-2 with our essentially full NHL roster against their not so NHL roster. So it was pretty fun to watch. And overall, I wish all the preseason games were on TV, and I might watch all of them more because the game in Abbotsford was dog shit.
Yeah. Another week, another shitty broadcast, but we can't glance past the Holloway Hattie. Hollywood lit it up, hey?
I'm pretty sure after that game, everyone that has Holloway penciled in on Draisaitl's wing for about 82 games this season.
Yeah. And he's going to score like 60.
If he plays with Draisaitl for the entire season, I could see him doing like a 20-goal, 40 assists for 60-point season or something like that.
That'd be a solid rookie campaign. But
I mean, I think that would make him, if he does stick with Draisaitl the whole year, I would put him in the top, like easily top 3 for the Calder Trophy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind throwing some money down on that right now.
Well, we'll check out the odds after this game and see. I don't want to be one of those podcasts that's like, here's the puck line and the money line, and here's this and that, and bet all your money and lose it all.
If you're betting off of my take, you're an idiot to begin with. So
that's fair. Anybody who would follow me would lose so much money.
Yeah. So it was kind of a slapping of the Canucks on, I think it was Tuesday. All right, in other news, Yamamoto, I think he got hit in that game, right?
Yeah, so essentially De Keyser kind of ran him into the boards with the trip, which I find kind of funny. So I was watching the game with my cousin, and before that, we noticed the fourth line was getting rolled in with McDavid on some shifts. Yeah. So it was like Shore, et cetera. And we hadn't seen Yamamoto in a while, and we're like, oh, fuck, Yamamoto must be hurt. And then all of a sudden, a few shifts later, he shows up, and we're all excited. We're like, yeah, he's back. And then De Keyser immediately does that. And we're just looking at each other. We're like, we jinxed it. Like, what the fuck? But then Yamamoto got up and kept playing out throughout the game. And then ultimately, he's not that banged up. It sounds like he just, he missed a couple of the preseason games that were remaining, which is fine. But from what I gather, he's supposed to be in the lineup for the opening night.
Well, yeah, and the last thing that you want to happen is like have a guy play unnecessary preseason games and then you're out a player to start the season. So I hope they just kind of maintenance the whole way through. But yeah.
And then Benson, on the other hand, I have no clue what he even did to himself. I didn't really see it.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. But you never like to hear that like in preseason. It makes me cringe. I hate when injuries occur because and it goes back to the point that I was making last week. Like, do we need 8 fucking games to figure out who's making the team?
No, and it just opens you up for these injuries to happen when you have all of these fucking games playing.
Yeah.
And Benson is on LTIR, by the way.
Okay.
I just double checked to make sure that was the case.
But effectively, he's made the team, hey?
I think so. At a minimum, he might be the extra forward, but we'll see how the cap implications happen. I'm picturing him top line in Bakersfield, and if not, then he's playing fourth line in Edmonton.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the final roster projections once we're done all the news and notes here.
Yeah.
But currently, Shore might fit on that, but
Yeah.
it's an argument between him and some other players.
Yeah. The Oilers head to Penticton. Looked like they had a little bit of fun there. Well, no, it wasn't Penticton. I don't know why I'm thinking.
Abbotsford?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know why the fuck I keep saying Penticton.
Yeah, you even said Penticton before.
Yeah, I know. That's where they had the rookie camp, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why it's in my head. Yes, Abbotsford, much closer to Vancouver, but they head in there, and then they were playing at the barn. I was doing some research. I didn't realize like Vancouver's farm club moved so close.
Oh, yeah, they're the Abbotsford Canucks now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was previously Calgary's farm team, the Abbotsford Heat.
Right.
And they swapped or something like that. There was some sort of three-way swap between teams because now
Yeah.
Calgary has
Well, Calgary
one in
moved their
Calgary.
team too.
Yeah, they moved their team to Calgary,
Yeah.
I believe.
Which, I mean, that's got to be a busy barn when you think about it, because you have the Saddle Dome, you have to compete with, the Flames. You've got the Hitmen playing there as well. Like, it's
true.
a busy place.
I mean, I'd be pretty happy if we had an AHL team here, but for anybody who's listening, you might be able to hear the furnace in the background. Just turn on. I think it's fine. It's very quiet. I don't know if it's going to pick it up. We'll see.
The look on my face was just like, fuck, something else.
Yeah, we're in a different space right now, so we're testing out some things that happen. So God forbid the toilet flushes, or else we're all screwed.
Yeah, but I mean, we live in Canada. The fucking furnace has got to kick in eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I digress. Yeah, it was a weird game.
It was an undisciplined game.
Yeah, like,
To be fair, I didn't really watch it.
I watched a bit of it.
I tried, but I couldn't handle the volume.
Yeah.
The audio was some of the worst audio I've ever heard. And I was complaining about that first game of the year. This was so much worse.
My guy Pete Blackburn on Twitter clipped the McDavid goal. He's like, "Why does this look like it's in 1995?" Like, it's just like it makes no sense why we're still fighting this.
I get playing in Abbotsford, but you got to bring along some production team of some sort.
Yeah.
Bring at least a camera that's from this century.
But McDavid did McDavid things, scored that beautiful goal off the rush. Just excited to see everything that happens after that. Yeah, so moving on from Abbotsford, there's some changes made, but not after the Edmonton Oilers had a little bit of fun. It looks like they went on a fishing trip the next day. I know a lot of people were kind of scrutinizing Kane. I don't know if you saw his photo that he put up where he cropped
Vertanen
out of it.
Yeah. So
Clever.
they went on the fishing trip the night before.
Oh,
the
was
game.
it?
Yeah. So
Holy
that was
shit.
some of the excuses. They're like, you saw what they were doing yesterday, right? Like, no wonder we lost, and we barely lost to Vancouver too.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think we actually mentioned the score was 5-4 for Vancouver.
Yeah,
So it was a really close game overall. But yeah, they looked like they had some fun. There's a picture of Barry where he's got his phone out and his beer can, and he's trying to hide his beer can behind his phone so it
that's
doesn't
too
look like
funny.
it. But you can clearly see it's a beer can in his hand.
Yeah.
But my favorite part about that whole trip is the pictures of Kane and Puljujarvi and some
Yeah.
of those other guys just looking like they're having fun.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a stark contrast to what you heard about Kane in the past with teammates and the locker room
yeah.
and stuff. So based off of just those pictures alone with no context whatsoever, it appears like he is nothing but a positive impact in the locker room.
Yeah, whatever stuff like he's going through, obviously, like, he seems to be in a good space right now, and that you can't hope for anything else.
This is
right
why
now.
it's Oilers rehab. We bring Cassian in, he does great. We bring Kane in, he does great. But that leads us to we bring Vertanen in and we ship him right back out.
Yeah.
As Vertanen was released from his PTO, much to no one's surprise.
Well, I don't know why the fuck it took so long, honestly. I don't know if they were just trying to play it out, but for a guy who is fighting for his NHL career, he just did not look like a willing participant.
My favorite stat line was he had 0 hits in 5 games. As a power forward, in air quotes.
Yeah.
Because as big as he is, he sure as hell doesn't play like one. But I heard some jokes that they were dropping off. They're dropping off Vertanen closer to home That's why they kept him until Abbotsford.
Oh my God!
Just so they can give him the quick lift. It's the same with dropping off Reed Schaefer in Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't shocked when I saw that news. And then the following day, I mean, this is where things started to kind of. It wasn't really a shock, but to see Samorukov sent down, and then to see Janmark sent down, like the only thing that shocked me was the fact that Samorukov wasn't claimed.
I could say that for both players, honestly.
Yeah, I guess.
Janmark's the type of guy who can play on your third line in a pinch, and I'm very, very, very happy that he cleared because we have that ability to call him up now.
That's true.
If need be. It gives us a good cushion versus whether he got claimed. But to be fair, I've seen it 1,000 times where all these good players, or air quotes, good players, get sent down through waivers, and nobody claims them. I think in total of the 200 players that were put on waivers over the past few days, there was 10 who were claimed.
Yeah. It felt like, I don't know why it felt like it used to be a big thing. It's just you never hear too much about it. But it kind of led to the next step the Oilers took by actually trading Samorukov. That was kind of a shocker from the perspective of, I thought he would be a guy that you'd see in an Oilers uniform. But, I mean, there's a logjam at D. There's nowhere to put him.
I think the biggest fact is Niemelainen passed him on the depth charts.
Yeah.
If Niemelainen hasn't become the player that he is now, then there's no way they would have got rid of Samorukov. And I think they want Broberg to have more responsibility in Bakersfield, and Samorukov is not in the way per se, but I don't know, direct competition. I don't think competition's a bad thing, mind you. At the end of the day, though, the most important part about this, for anybody who doesn't know, Samorukov was traded for Klim Kostin from the St. Louis Blues. The biggest part is salary. I know it's very minor.
$25,000.
It's very minor, but considering with the current roster that I've seen quoted today, they're like $167 under the cap.
Oh, based off of the moves that the coordinating moves that they'll make.
Yeah, so without that trade, they could have been fucked.
Yeah.
Or they would have had to send some other guys down through waivers that they didn't want to.
And I'm happy with the return too. Like, Klim Kostin's a big power forward, 6'3", 215. Like,
he's got soft hands. I don't know how physical he really plays, but
it's just nice to kind of get that forward depth again. Down in Baco and maybe push some guys up. But
there was another thing that I saw too with Benson being injured, Savoy being injured, Lavoie is injured. They have no wingers down there right now to play.
It's kind of a shit show down there, hey?
Yeah, it's essentially what Tyler Tullio is their top kind of winger right now. Nothing against Tyler Tullio, but he's not experienced. Well, I guess they have Griffith and stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's just nobody down there right now. And one thing that's important to note is both Samorukov and Kostin had cleared waivers previously. Yeah. So they both get swapped to their AHL teams. Right. Yeah. So it's not like one of those moments where you claim a guy who is on the roster and he has to stay on the roster for 30 days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that was kind of the biggest, I guess, move of the week. And then the Oilers head into play their final game against Seattle. I thought it was Saturday. I don't know why I thought the game was going to be on Saturday, but...
it was on Friday. I watched the game with my dad.
Yeah, but a 5-3 win against the Kraken. Honestly, did not watch the game because I obviously didn't know what day it was.
I watched the whole game. It was a classic, quiet 4 points for Draisaitl.
I saw the highlights when I was at the gym the next day, but I saw the goal that basically went off of him and in the net, the goalie played it. It was just so funny to watch his reaction after the puck hit his shin pads. He's like, fuck this. Just watched it go in. Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah, but the German connection with Grubauer off Draisaitl was something else.
Yeah.
It was shades of Mike Smith when I was watching it. I was just like, thank God we don't have that in our net anymore, because I could see that happen a few times this year.
Remember when? Yeah. Yeah, so that finalized everything, which kind of led to the roster moves to get us set up for Wednesday, which is exciting. That included sending down Shore. I saw a funny thing I think it was Daniel Nugent-Bowman who was in the room, and apparently when he cleared waivers, he like threw his arms up and he's like, "Nobody wants me," and he's just happy because he gets to stay in Edmonton. I think.
I was reading that tweet where essentially he's like, my family, like we've been here for a few years. Everyone's very comfortable. I really like this organization, so I'm very excited. Nobody claimed me.
Well, and you look at McDavid after he scored the goal in Calgary. Like when he was running down the tunnel and Devin Shores being the hype man for the entire team. Like I think the team loves him, so it's good that he's still in the organization.
He's the perfect like 13th forward type player.
Yeah.
Very versatile, a good team player, things like that.
Yeah. I know last week I said I could do without him, but I mean, he's kind of the fringe player for me anyway, so yeah, maybe 13th forward is the perfect analogy there. Did I miss anything?
Well, they also sent down Malone at one point, and he cleared waivers, but they've called him back up.
Right.
And they assigned Hamblin to Bakersfield. I don't think anybody's overly surprised by that, considering he's waiver exempt. He did have a pretty good camp.
I was going to say, he shocked the hell out of me.
Yeah, I was very impressed considering going into this camp. He was kind of a no-namer to me. I'd never really had him in my mind, I guess. And overall, I was pretty impressed with his play. I think he could be a call-up with injuries, specifically at center if we have a lot of issues there. At the end of the day, though, he's too small.
Yeah.
And he's not set for that fourth line when we already have Derek Ryan there.
Yeah, I still don't know what we're doing with the bottom three. But that's
It's a good problem to have when we're not like, I can't wait for Jujhar Khaira to play another season of fourth line center.
That's too funny. Yeah, I guess that's why Woody gets paid much more than I do to make these kinds of decisions.
Yeah. There was one other note as well, and that was Jason Demers was released from his PTO.
Yeah.
Which I will not be surprised if somebody signs him.
He had a decent camp.
Yeah, whether it's seventh defenseman or a third pairing. Look at Vancouver right now.
Yeah.
With their woes on the right side. Like, my roommate was reading out their right side roster to me before I left, and like half the names I was like, I don't know who any of those players are.
Holy shit! I saw same with like Montreal.
Montreal is a Montreal. They have three rookies.
I just looked at the names. There was like one name that I recognized. I was like, holy shit! Like,
it's David Savard and kids.
Yeah, it's insane. But yeah, I think that basically takes care of everything. The report came out with what the Oilers were skating with today. So I did see that Yamamoto was taking every second shift skating on the fourth line. However, we basically have the finalized roster that we're looking at on Wednesday. So no shocker. We've got just ripped through the forwards. Kane, McDavid, Yamamoto, Holloway, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, McLeod, Fogle, Malone, Ryan, and Puljujarvi. Throw that in a blender however you want. I don't know who's going to wind up playing where. It's going to be interesting because I've heard different people say like that Fogle, Nuge, and McLeod, like that line is set.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people who feel that way.
But I don't know if it was a shot at Mark Spector because it was kind of off the cuff from Woodcroft. But when he said, someone asked him about something, and it wasn't Mark Spector, it was someone else. And he's like, we're going to actually do the old, like, eye test and make changes on the fly. Like, we're not just going to say anything is set in stone. So I don't know if that's a coaching tactic. I don't know, whatever. But,
well, it might be a good little pat on the back to whether it's Puljujarvi or Yamamoto or Fogle, whichever one ends up on the fourth line, to be like, this isn't set in stone.
Yeah.
Like, we'll play with this. It's pretty much a play till we lose kind of attitude, and then we'll reconsider what we're doing here.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we'll have to see what they wind up doing. Because, I mean, they had the game with Puljujarvi on that line. I didn't mind it, but, I mean, Fogle had a good camp. So he got better and
Fogle
better.
has been very impressive this entire camp, I will say, especially with him starting to kill penalties as well. His value is increasing ever more every game.
His salary fucking better.
Well, I would hope so as well. I'm not saying that. Like, he just wasn't given a lot of opportunity, I think,
true.
last year. Tippett never gave him really much to work with. They played him with, like, Ryan and Shore every single game and expected him to still put up, like, 15 goals.
Yeah.
So they didn't exactly set him up for success. And I will say this feels more like Woodcroft giving him more of a chance.
Well, and if they do end up going with Fogle on that line, the one thing that I like the aspect of him on that line is he brings more of a physical game because you already have two kind of like, they're not, McLeod and Nuge aren't going to bowl people over.
No,
they're not going to be the
not
guys
at
like
all.
digging in the corner. So you kind of need that grittiness, that edge, just to kind of, massage out the line. But we'll see what happens. I mean, the only thing that I'm really, really looking forward to is to see Holloway with Draisaitl. Like,
I'm excited to see what can happen.
yeah, the art of the possibility is very high. So,
With that
I'm
being
not gonna
said, do we
Yeah.
need to temper our expectations a little bit?
mine
if he
are
struggles?
extremely tempered. Yeah, I won't be upset if he gets sent down 7 games in.
So you're
'Cause I
not
think
sitting
it's
here being like, that's a auto 30 and 30, like it's
No.
done.
No.
Like,
I'll stand by my statement. Like, I hope he fucking proves me wrong, and I hope he like lights it up and gets that 60-point season. But the what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. But the preseason results that we saw, I mentioned it a couple episodes ago, where you have Payarvi lighting it up and scoring a hat trick. Like, he never turned into anything. I'm not saying Holloway is the same player, but I think you have to extremely temper NHL rosters against a rookie. Like, I think the one thing to point out is the one biggest comparison, I think, was Calgary. When they played Calgary, he didn't have his best game, and he kind of like fell back into the mix.
I'm curious if that was just like an overwhelming thing because he was playing on the top line
That too.
against like
I mean,
Elias Lindholm, for example, who's a Selke runner-up.
Yeah, like, he was the best player on the ice for the Oilers that night.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of people being dressed. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and unfortunately, that wasn't saying much about the team at the time because nobody really played particularly well. But
Yeah.
like we said, it's preseason as well, so who really knows how to compare that? Because we're getting into the real meat and potatoes now, the
Yeah.
games that actually matter, and we'll see who shows up for those games.
Yes. So I know the rosters were due at 3 p.m. today. And then there's going to be some corresponding moves from the Edmonton Oilers, it sounds like.
Yeah. So the rumor currently is that Malone is going to be sent back down and Shore is going to be called back up to replace him. And this is purely for cap moves in the first place that they sent Shore down. Nothing, because I think Shore is always penciled in there. I don't think anybody watching camp was like, yeah, Malone earned that spot. Nothing against Malone. He just didn't do anything huge to stand out.
I disagree. I thought he had a solid camp.
Oh, I think he had a solid camp, but
Yeah.
did he deserve to steal a roster spot from another
Shore,
player?
yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I think Shore had a great camp.
I thought he was okay. I thought Devon Shore gave you Devon Shore. I really think that Brad Malone would fit nicely on this roster because he's a Swiss Army knife.
Well, I think he fits nicely as a call-up because of that.
I guess, yeah.
And it's similar to Shore, where, like I said, he's the ideal 13th forward.
Yeah, I won't disagree with the fact that you can call up Malone and kind of slot him in anywhere. So
I think they're a very identical style of player.
yeah,
They're both
it's
kind of
weird
like
when you get
medium
those,
to
eh?
bigger body. They play pretty physical. They can play any role that you throw them into. They kill penalties. They play center.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I think the only difference is Shore can be a little faster than Malone sometimes.
could you package those two and get them playing and maybe sit out a Derek Ryan?
If you need some more size in the lineup.
Yeah.
I don't think we actually finished saying what the final D pairings and
Oh,
goalie
no.
pairings were
Yeah.
either.
No, we still need to get.
So the D pairings are Nurse Cece, Kulak Bouchard, Murray Barry with Broberg as the 7th defenseman, and Campbell and Skinner, as everybody knows, as the goalies.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, there's going to be some corresponding moves with Broberg because I think the deal is to move him down, as you mentioned with the cap kind of circumvention, is to send him down and call up Niemelainen.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, essentially, Broberg will have his just base salary cap hit all season if he's on the opening day roster. If he wasn't on the opening day roster and was called up midway through the year, all of his bonuses would also be applied to his base salary. So instead of the $860 or so $1,000 cap hit, he'd be more around the $1.7 million cap hit range, which obviously does not work for Edmonton with the cap constraints that they have.
The old paper transaction.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason why Shore got sent down in the first place, because he's making more than Malone. Therefore, the only way they could fit Broberg on the opening roster to have that bonus there was to have Malone there as well.
Yeah. So having Broberg go down to the Condors and play, he'll get meaningful minutes, and he'll actually get to play like he'll likely get those power play minutes that he won't get in Edmonton.
Oh, for sure. It'll be some combination of like him and Desharnais, maybe Kesselring Camp. I don't know who the right side guy will be. And they'll be the top pairing there. He'll get the top power play, probably get some PK experience as well, and just keep building on the pretty decent AHL season he had last year.
I'm kind of shocked that Murray's still here.
I think Murray has just been a very solid, quiet player, which,
yeah,
to be honest, I like that kind of player with Barry, somebody who's quiet and can maybe calm his game down a little bit, or just make up for the fact when Barry's in his panic moments and he's just the calming force on the left side.
Well, and you have two relatively veteran defensemen playing together. I hope that sticks. But who knows? Like, I mean, we've seen Woodcroft go with 11-7 multiple times, so you don't know if that's going to get flipped around or what. But
well, it's possible Niemelainen could play there too.
That's
that's the other rumor going around is that Broberg is going to be swapped with Niemelainen.
Right.
Because then I think Niemelainen had a better camp than Broberg. So I think it's important to talk about Broberg quickly, that everybody had him penciled in that third pairing the second Keith retired, and we re-signed Kulak. He didn't earn that spot. He didn't do anything in camp that was like, okay, yeah, he can stay here. He kind of played himself out of that position by not doing anything in particular at camp. From
the outset, like, I think I've been firm. We've been recording this podcast long enough. I think I said it back then, but as soon as Niemelainen came onto the scene, I knew right away that Broberg doesn't like have a slot to just walk into. And from everything that we've seen, like, it's been very much a toss-up. And then, of course, you add a veteran in Murray into the lineup. Like, there's going to be some healthy competition there. And I just don't think Broberg had enough of it to prove that he's the guy for that position right now.
Well, part of the problem is he did put on, like 12 to 15 pounds of muscle or something like that in the offseason. And with a player like him, he's a great skater, right? He probably lost a bit of his step because of the like greater weight. He's kind of hulking around a little bit more. Not to say that he's probably still not like a what's the word I'm looking for? He has good form when he's skating. Like, he just kind of lost some speed and some like acceleration. And in the NHL, if you lose the tiniest little bit of a step, you're fucked. So he needs to go back to the HL and kind of work on that a little bit, get his timing back. And then he would be a great mid-season call-up for sure. If we have any issues in like the top four on the left side, for example, if Nurse goes down or Kulak goes down, I think Broberg's the first one you look at to play in a more offensive role.
Well, and him getting that, like, those minutes down in Baco, like, I'm curious to see what it does for the confidence in his game. Like,
well, I hope so, and I hope that he's doesn't take it as a negative hit to his confidence, just getting sent down in the first place.
Yeah.
Be like Shore and just be happy nobody claimed you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that basically takes care of the lineup. Campbell Skinner, no real shocker, as you mentioned. I'd love to see that 50-30 split.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing. Maybe even closer, depending on how many back-to-backs we have this season. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's all of the big roster-specific things. So yeah. I think we're pretty set, barring tomorrow's paper transactions, to see who's actually remaining on the roster, to see who's opening night for Wednesday's game against Vancouver.
But effectively, we can just take a moment and pause and just appreciate and be thankful. Dylan Holloway's cracked the roster.
He did everything. He did everything that Broberg didn't.
Yes.
Because people had Holloway penciled in on that third line.
Yeah.
But he came in and played above expectations and earned himself a spot on the second line.
It was almost as if, like, when he started camp, they're like, all right, we'll throw him into the first game. And they're like, we'll throw him into the second game. Okay.
Bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
That's okay. Let's see how he does with Draisaitl.
And they kept feeding him in, and he just fought his way. He basically walked in, and I'm playing on the second line, and he proved it. So very exciting times there. We'll jump into some of the Oilers News that happened over the past week. Steve Staios was hired as a special advisor to hockey operations. I am a very large fan of this move.
I love Steve Staios. He's done great things with Hamilton Bulldogs, right?
Yeah.
Where they
Fresh
won,
off the OHL championship.
Yeah, they've been killing it. So I think that's great. And I would not be surprised, because he was the GM of the Bulldogs,
Yeah.
that they're grooming him for future GMing.
Yeah, I've seen some things floating around that this is kind of Kenny Holland's protege in training. I think this is the kind of the same thing that they did with Stevie Y in Detroit. And so I think I think it's just a matter of time. But I think Steve Staios is a very smart hockey guy. And I know a lot of people will go around and say, oh, it's another ex-Oiler that you're hiring. But there's differences. Like, no offense to Ryan Smith, but I'm not putting him anywhere in management. But
I have no clue about his management skills,
yeah.
but he hasn't done anything
exactly.
outside of hockey.
It feels like a lot of the jobs that they gave in the past were just for the sake of having a job and being
Well, it'd
involved.
be like in Vancouver, I believe the Sedins are the
Yeah.
co-GMs of the Abbotsford Canucks. I keep wanting to say Heat. So like that, with those guys having no experience, for example, in management, it felt more like a nepotism hire outside of Staios, who actually has experience and has shown that he has had success in that role.
Yeah. Well, and you think of other Oilers who like have kind of finished their careers. Like look at Sean Horkoff and the work that he's doing. Steve Staios obviously proven himself last year, so we'll see what happens. But I'm a big fan of the move for sure. So the other thing we wanted to get into is this Oilers Plus. Did they announce anywhere that it's a streaming service?
No, it's their streaming subscription service. I'm air quoting right now.
So more fucking money that we have to pay for shit.
I think it's like pretty cheap. It's like a few bucks a month or something like that. And I believe the way that it's supposed to work, from what I gather from people speculating, because they didn't really announce anything, is that it's going to have a lot of like player features, like one-on-one interviews. I believe that oil change type documentary they were talking about, that's supposed to go on there. But to my knowledge, they cannot have actual Oilers games on this service because they don't have the broadcasting rights.
Right. I'll be intrigued to see what the product actually is, and of course having an Oilers podcast is pretty fucking tough not to have.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I have a hard time wanting that extra content when it doesn't have like the games. But how am I to say no to extra content at the same time?
That's fair. We'll have to see what winds up shaking out, because I know that I would love to see like the behind the scenes shit that they're doing with all the teams. I was just watching today. They had the Nashville Predators, whatever documentary that one's called, but I was watching a bit of that. Like, why don't we have that for Edmonton? The only memory of that we have, like, Daryl Cates owns a fucking movie production company.
That's true.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that. I find I loved watching that oil change series when they did that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because maybe the viewership wasn't great on it, but to be fair, I believe when that series was airing, the team wasn't particularly good.
Yeah.
So nowadays, especially with people wanting to see a more in-depth look at the locker room, so we can stop hearing about how like there's cancers in the locker room when you see everybody's just enjoying themselves and getting along. But like, I would love to see that last season, to see the contrast between Tippett's locker room to like Woodcroft's locker room, for example.
Well, I just hope that I'm not a big F1 guy, but I know that when they filmed that Netflix documentary that there was some outcry because they had to create some sort of storyline to it, and so just due to the editing, some things were like portrayed differently.
Oh yeah,
you kind of hope that you don't have a situation like that where players start getting upset and shit like that. So I mean,
I'm pretty sure I watched an episode of that Drive to Survive show.
Yeah.
And it was like they're talking about how it was a rivalry between these two guys, and it skipped over it did the entire race, but it skipped over the fact that one of those guys DQ'd on the first lap or something like that. And it was like, oh, so it wasn't even that close, this race.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we'll see what ends up with the streaming service, what we're all going to get out of it. But yeah, we need more content. Honestly, that's when I fell in love with Ryan Whitney. Like, I didn't care how shit bum he was as a player, but like when you saw him in those oil, is it Oil Country?
Oil Change.
Oil Change. Why did I say Oil Country? When you saw him in those episodes, like, he was just a funny as hell dude. Like, he definitely speaks to why he's doing what he's doing right now.
Exactly.
But, yeah. Can we go one fucking week without some, like, bad news coming out? Jesus
I don't think you can go a
Christ.
day without it. With this next thing we're going to talk about, and, like, you saw the Ian Cole shit from yesterday.
Yes.
Like, that was all in one day. And then I think there was a bunch of drama about some VP for the Montreal Canadiens doing a whole bunch of tweets defending that Logan Mailloux guy or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
But either way, the news that we're going to talk about, we're not going to end on this note because, as we said, we don't want to end on bad notes.
Yes.
There seems to be a lot of bad notes near the ends of these podcasts lately, though. I don't want to have to talk about it. But the Bakersfield Condors head athletic trainer, he has been charged with a felony offense for contacting a minor to commit a sexual offense in the state of California.
Diddler, hey? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
so
I've got the statement up from the Condors here. So it reads, earlier today, we became aware that Bakersfield head athletic trainer Chad Drown has been charged with very serious felony offenses related to contacting a minor to commit a sexual offense in the state of California. We are shocked and dismayed by the news, and Mr. Drown has been relieved of his duties immediately.
So I think the number one most important thing about this specific tweet by them is that he was fired immediately.
Yeah.
No suspension, no anything, because these are actual felony charges associated with this guy. I don't even want to say his name.
Yeah.
So they fired him immediately, and I would certainly hope that they didn't know anything about this beforehand. And if they did, they were the ones who reported it in the first place to, like, the police.
Well, and just reading some of the stuff, like, all the comments, nobody's ever fucking happy with anything. Like, everyone's like, you didn't vet him well enough. There's other things about, like, how they waited till 7:45 that night to post it. Like, what the fuck else is Bakersfield supposed to do? Like,
well, I'm sure they're, like, full-on, like, 5-alarm panicking when they're like, what the fuck?
You can't just, like, go out and tweet. Like, this has to go through a PR.
Yeah, like unfortunately, as much as people don't want to hear that part, like, these need to go through the cycles to get the proper PR out. Like, you look at the Ian Cole situation, he let out a tweet where it was very, very clearly through a lawyer.
Yes.
Very like, I will cooperate with all investigations, and I will not comment any further until this matter has been resolved.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the robotic lawyerness of how it works. And I'd loved the second that those charges are there, maybe they did fire him immediately the second they heard about it. But they can't do a public address about it. They can be like, we heard about this, so he's fired. Because that opens them up to potential litigation if, let's just say, like, obviously there's the innocent until proven guilty part of this.
Yes.
So I don't want to drag somebody through the mud yet. But they have to be careful with that, because I've dealt with some stuff out, like, not my work or anything, but with, like, I've been reading about situations where there's been people who are let go for weird means, and then there's a big lawsuit about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think ultimately the only thing that actually matters is that the actions that need to be taken are taken.
Yeah.
So as long as he got fired, arrested, and he's sitting in jail, you can give me till tomorrow that, like, if you want to tweet this out.
Well, Bakersfield as a team, what's the number one thing they could do? Fire him.
Yes.
They did that.
Yeah.
Next thing, cooperate with authorities to help the best they can. And I'm certain they are going to do that.
Yes.
So, with that being said, this is I'm so tired of this shit, that all this shit's happening. But with that also being said, I'm happy that
I know
this is coming out.
It's the hockey Me Too movement, but it's about fucking time.
And all these pieces of shit are getting thrown under the bus.
Yeah.
And hopefully that bus is very heavy and going very fast.
Well, and then did you see the news from Akeem Alou? And so he's running.
Well, I saw Steve Simmons make a terrible tweet that is getting him potentially canceled.
What a fucking shit bum that guy
Pretty
is.
much he was saying stuff along the lines of, like, Akeem Alou doesn't know shit.
Oh my god.
And then now he's getting pretty canceled by the Twitterverse.
He is such a shithead. There is someone so that's probably why I saw a clip that was resurfaced of Brian Burke. They interviewed him. It must have been right after he got fired from the Leafs. And the question is, like, do you plan on heading, from Steve Simmons, do you plan on heading Hockey USA at the next championship? He's like, ask them. He's like, you know what the best part of today is I'll never have to talk to you again. I was just like, wow.
Well, it goes back to how we were talking about these reporters are just like, I don't know, they're going above what sports reporting is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they're commenting on these people as they are as the human beings, where they're not necessarily qualified to do so.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that all the stories get told and that more people come forward if shit keeps happening. But I hope that we just, clean house and this news can just stop. Yeah. Because unfortunately,
I'm praying that next week we don't have to talk about something like this again.
Yeah. Literally praying. So just figured it is Thanksgiving. So in the essence, I figured we could toss around something that we're thankful for with respect to the Oilers this season.
I know what I'm thankful for.
Okay.
That everybody we sent down cleared waivers. And we don't have to worry about anything like last year where we lost Forsberg to waivers and we're like, now who's our next goalie?
Yeah. That's a pretty good one. I was thinking about it because, we didn't really lose anybody. Samorukov, we got an asset back for.
True. It wasn't just future considerations. Mm-hmm. Everyone's favorite NHL player.
I think the one thing that I'm extremely thankful for is I finally feel confident heading into the season with a decent goalie tandem for the first time in years.
Yeah, at least in the last 4 years, since having Cam Talbot as our starter after he proved he could be a starter, this is the most confident I've been in our goalies in a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely bright futures ahead. So with that being said, do you have any hot takes for the season? We kind of don't really have any predictions.
So one prediction
on the schedule, yeah.
Holloway wins the Calder.
Holloway. So I looked up the odds. He's not even listed on the top 20.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
And
we'll see how the roster shakes out tomorrow, but that's my prediction.
And that goes to odds. So that's basically assuming he's going to be above 15 plus 1,500.
Yeah.
So, what's $100 to throw down there?
A quick $15,000.
It's
if not more.
Nah. We'll see what ends up happening there, but that's an interesting one. I was gonna say that just looking at the standings and stuff, I think the Edmonton Oilers are gonna finish. Hot take: I think the Oilers are gonna finish first in the Western Conference.
In the Western Conference, okay. Yes. Compared to against Colorado,
yeah,
I think that's a pretty hot take. I'll give you that.
I don't know if it's gonna completely come to fruition, but the reason that I'm calling the hot take is I don't think Colorado comes out hot out of the gates.
You think they got the cup hangover?
I think they got the cup hangover. I think they lost a couple pieces that were probably bigger than they expected with
Kadri.
Kadri, yeah, like he had a huge role on that team. We'll end up seeing Cale Makar is going to be Cale Makar, Nate McKinnon, Landeskog. I just think that this is the Oilers' year. I think this is it.
That's a bold claim to say it's the Oilers' year, so I'm down. I agree. As my homer pick, I would put money down on Edmonton right now if the odds were better. For some reason, the odds suck because everybody thinks Edmonton's going to win. So stop betting on Edmonton to win so I can bet when the odds go down.
Well, just thank and pray that EA Sports, I think they ran their simulation and at least won the cup. So that's
true. They had Edmonton in the. I thought what is it? Pittsburgh won. Against
Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh beat the Leafs in the Eastern Conference Final. Colorado beat Edmonton in the Western Conference Final, and then Pittsburgh won the cup.
Oh, my God. Okay, maybe I'm looking at something.
One final one for Crosby, as they say.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think we're pretty much covered and up to date with everything Oilers at the moment.
So just to finally touch on everything, before the season starts on Wednesday, one final note. It's Stanley Cup Finals or bust this year?
Absolutely. My expectation is Western Conference Final.
Yes.
And if you go above that, then that's exceeding my expectations.
Yes.
If we don't make it there, I will be disappointed if we don't make it to the Western Conference Final minimum.
Okay.
And that better be a good series.
I agree with you. Would you rather, how does this question go? I'm going to fuck it up if I ask it the wrong way. Would you rather win...
yes.
Yeah, no shit. In the Western Conference, only to be swept in the Stanley Cup Finals, or losing Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals?
I'd rather make it to the Cup Finals.
And get swept?
As long as it's not against the Leafs, yeah.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah. Where's that river that I was looking for last week? Who knows? But with that being said, we got a brand new season. It all starts T minus 48 hours. So let's go Oilers.